Hello, Namaskar viewers. I am Sanjeev Pandya welcoming you to this week's edition of the Tax Talk with AJ. This weekly show based only on the taxes to get you all the information that you really need to know. Besides information, of course, advice and the guidance because taxes are complicated and sometimes it's really hard to follow up with the latest changes in the taxes. Whether it's a personal taxes or corporate, yani कि business taxes. You really need to be updated. And that's why we bring you this show every week right here on ITV Gold. The sponsor for the show is Science CPA Services, a full-fledged professional accounting firm located in the state of New Jersey, multiple locations, but they can assist you wherever you are in the USA, over the phone, in person, over Zoom. All kind of meetings can be scheduled by calling 908-888-8900. That's a 908-888-8900 or visit sciencecpaservices.com. Science CPA Services believes in doing taxes right. So to do your taxes right, you need to contact Science CPA Services for any tax matter, and besides that, for any accounting matters also, you can contact them. During the show, I'll give you more information on Science CPA Services. But meantime, let's welcome Mr. AJ Kumar, who is with Science CPA Services for over 25 years, brings a wealth of knowledge and experience when it comes to accounting and the taxes because he himself is CPA and MBA. He joins us every week and he guides us and advises us on a taxes matter. AJ, good to see you and welcome to the show.
Thank you, Sanjeevji. Thank you for the kind introduction.
Sure, very nice. Of course, Science CPA Services, the firm that I know, really deserves that because I know many clients, many individuals have benefited through Science CPA Services by having their taxes done. Today, let's talk about this non-profit and not-for-profit, types and requirement and these entities. Let's give a little more detail to our viewers.
Absolutely, Sanjeevji. A lot of people donate money. A lot of people donate time. And they feel good about it. A lot of people try to take tax advantage of their donation. We talked about it in one of our last episodes that the time value of money is not tax deductible. Anything out of pocket as an expense is tax deductible when it comes to charity. So today's show is less about charity, what's deductible, what's not deductible. It's more about not-for-profit company itself. How do you start a non-for-profit company? How do you start a structure, a 501c3, C4, C6? What's the difference between these type of organizations? You're not-for-profit, but can the people who are giving money to you claim it as a tax deduction, as a charity? Not all non-for-profit companies are created equal. Say, for example, you could have a chamber of commerce, which is not-for-profit, a group of professionals coming together to create an organization benefiting each other. So people who are giving money to this chamber of commerce, they cannot claim it as a charitable contribution on their Schedule A. If they have a business, that may be classified as a business expense, but again, giving money to a club or a networking group is not a charity, is not a charitable contribution. So you cannot claim it as a tax deductible expense on Schedule A as charity. So in this episode, we'll talk about various types of non-for-profit companies, the difference among these type of companies, the process to get a 501c3, what steps you have to take, how much it will cost you, and what are the compliance related to these non-for-profit companies, what you have to be careful about, Sanjeevji.
Okay. So when you say you have to be careful, of course, 501c3 is the most popular, non-profit organization, which is what we have seen in our community, mainly for religious temples and other charitable entities. But there are also several of them. There's a 501c4 and C5 and C6 and C7. Are there major differences between all these and why there are so many categories?
Well, there are differences, and the differences lies in the purpose. Let's say 501c3, which is the most common for temples, for the religious organization, for the social organizations, for
educational,
religious purpose, educational purpose, of course. 501c3 is the most common type of organization where we say the money coming in is considered as charity. There is no string attached from the donor perspective as I'm giving you the money and this is what I want in return from you. There's no string attached. There is nothing to give back in return, and this type of money is tax deductible for donors as charitable contribution, and for a 501c3 organization, they don't have to pay any taxes. Let's say a 501c3 organization collected $50,000 in the year, and they only spent $20,000 for the mission. They have $30,000 left. Do they have to pay any taxes? No, they don't. The 501c3 organization does not pay any taxes irrespective of the fact how much money they collected, how much money they spent, invested, and how much is the leftover. The leftover money just moves to the next year, rolls on to the next year. So next year you can collect less and invest more, but a typical non-for-profit company does not pay any taxes unless they have unrelated activities.
Okay. So, all right. So, several categories. Now, what are the main objectives to pick what category, and how do you set up 501c3? You need to have your mission or objective for that entity.
Absolutely. So, let's talk about how do you decide what type of organization you really want. So, let's say if you're trying to start a chamber of commerce, Indian Chamber of Commerce, let's call it. The Indian Chamber of Commerce cannot be a 501c3 because it's not a religious organization. It's not going to be giving benefit out of nothing to come back. It's a commercial organization. It's going to be creating benefit for the members only. If you want to be part of this Indian Chamber of Commerce, you can pay some money to become the member, and this organization will try to benefit its members, not the population in general. If you're not benefiting population in general, then you don't qualify for 501c3. So in this example, when we have a chamber of commerce, we'll try to go with 501c6. Take another example. You are hardcore political fan, pick up any party, and in that party, you want to promote somebody's agenda because you believe in it. In that case, we'll try to go with 501c4 type of organization as opposed to 501c3 because you have a specific group in mind. It's not for population, it's not for public in general. So you won't qualify for 501c3. So there are different chapters in IRC, in Internal Revenue Code, that defines the scope, that defines the objective. Say, for example, a fraternity is typically 501c8. A cemetery is typically 501c13. Then you can have veteran organization that's typically 501c19. But there are different chapters around it. So most common that we have is 501c3, and then everybody else. Meaning, from the understanding perspective, the tax treatment is similar for 4, 6, 13, 19, meaning donation to anybody else but 501c3 is not considered as charity. It's not tax deductible on your Schedule A as charitable contribution, even though for C4, C6, C19, there may be situations where you can say, I'm giving this money because I'm expecting my business to be benefited. So in some cases, contribution to these other type of organizations may be tax deductible as a business expense.
Okay. So now let's say, once a mission is decided for that entity, once a name is selected of that entity and everything is in the right place, how long does it take when they apply for, let's say 501c3 is the most popular, how long does that entity take to get the official 501c3 status from IRS?
At a high level, there are 3 steps to this whole process. So once you have defined the mission, once you have defined the objective, once you know what you intend to do, the very first step is to get this organization registered with the IRS and with the state. That can be done within 1 to 3 days, depending on which state you want to register. Say, for example, in New Jersey, you can have a non-for-profit registered with the state IRS to a point where you can even open the bank account on the same day. That's the step number 1, is starting the organization with federal government, with the state government, and opening the bank account. The second step in this process is getting the tax exemption. We call it 501c3 status. That exemption, the tax exemption, requires a large application, large fees, relatively large fees. So the IRS fees would be $600. You will file a probably 30-page application, and that takes anywhere from 3 to 6 months. So there are 3 steps in this whole process. First step, register the organization. So you can open the bank account. You can start working under this organization. The second step is you can say 501c3 election, a tax exemption, which can take 3 to 6 months. The last step, the third step, and this only done after the 501c3 is approved, is to have the sales tax exemption or getting this organization registered with the state. So anything that you buy under this organization, you don't have to pay the sales tax. That's the third step. That can take another 30 days. So all in all, I would say 4 to 6 months is a fair time.
4 to 6 months. Used to be much longer years ago. Now
It used to be 9 to 12 months. IRS has streamlined the process, so they have divided the process into 2 steps. An easy we call it 1023 easy and 1023 regular. 1023 easy is the application where you expect the collection to be less than $50,000 for the next foreseeable future. In that case, the approval is much faster. If you're trying to start an organization where you know it's going to be much larger organization, or if you're trying to do something outside this country, then the scrutiny is higher. Let's say if you are trying to create something where you will be feeding hungry kids in Haiti, in Africa, then it's a different process, different scrutiny, and that takes longer.
Okay. One last question before we go into the break. Is there a specific deadline for the taxes for them to file?
Absolutely. Like anything else, our personal taxes are due by April 15th. Similarly, non-for-profit taxes are due by May 15th, one extra month. You can always file an extension to get another 6 months. In that case, like for 1040 for your personal taxes, after extension, the deadline is October 15th. Similarly, after extension, 15th. It becomes November 15th for non-for-profit companies.
All right, very good. Thank you for that information. We're going to go into the break, and once we come back after the break, we're going to have a lot more on this topic for you. So stay with us. Welcome back to the second half of the Tax Talk with AJ. And this is the show, as I mentioned, that this is the show highlights all the information on the taxes, personal or corporate taxes. When it comes to taxes, obviously you need to have a CPA that you can rely on, CPA who believes in doing the taxes right, not always making sure that you get the refund. That's not what the professional, experienced, and knowledgeable CPAs will look into it just to get you a refund. That's not the point. The point is that you want to have your taxes filed right, so that way your taxes are not audited and you have filed your taxes, you have done your duty to pay your taxes, whatever that amount is. And if you're getting a refund, that's so be it, you're getting a refund. To figure out that, how much refund you're going to be getting, of course, you need to have a CPA who is very knowledgeable on that, who can advise you to take certain deductions in order to reduce your tax liability. So your tax liability can be reduced. Perhaps you can get more refund, but you are entitled to take some deductions, and your CPA can guide you. And that's why you need a CPA like Science CPA Services, the firm. They're knowledgeable, experienced, and on-hand CPAs in the staff will advise you in the right direction. So when it comes to taxes, again, there is a time for your personal taxes. Do give Science CPA Services a call. Visit their website, sciencecpaservices.com, or you can call them at 908-888-8900. Besides taxes, for any accounting services, payroll services, bookkeeping services, virtual CEO, virtual CFO, Science CPA Services can assist you in that one also. So remember to keep in mind Science CPA Services. Moving on to the show, today we're talking about nonprofit entities and the various ways of having nonprofit entities filed with IRS. Before the break, we found out May 15th is their deadline. Every year, May 15th is their tax filing deadline. Can this nonprofit or 501, several categories that we discussed earlier, can they ever lose a status?
Yes, sometimes knowingly, sometimes unknowingly. So having a non-for-profit company comes with certain obligations. Especially if you are a trustee of one of these non-for-profit companies, you have an obligation to maintain certain records, do certain filings. There are certain compliances around it. And if you don't follow the rules, let's say, for example, one of the rules is you must file your taxes every year. If you don't file your taxes for 3 years, they can deny your tax exemption. In that case, not only you have to file the corporate tax return, once the non-for-profit election is denied, you become a corporation. Not only you have to file the prior year's corporate tax returns, you have to reapply for the tax exemption, explaining why you did not file the taxes for several years. The other thing could be having unrelated income, meaning I said I will be doing X amount of work, or I'll be doing this type of charity or that type of work, and now I'm trying to sell widgets. I'm trying to do something else in this organization, which is not uncommon. I mean, a lot of times you will see when you start a temple, a mosque, a gurdwara, people will go door to door to collect money. People will do puja door to door to have some money collected for this religious purpose. So as long as some activities are okay, especially if the funding is used for the purpose that you created this organization for. But if you start doing consulting, so you don't have to pay the income tax. I'm an accountant. I create a non-for-profit company, and I start doing tax consulting under the disguise of this non-for-profit company, so I don't have to pay the income tax. That's not okay. Then in that case, IRS has the right to say this is not a non-for-profit company. It's a corporation, and they have the right to deny the election.
Okay. This non-profit companies, are they allowed to do any political campaigning or any sort of excessive lobbying or anything?
Typically, 501c3 are not allowed the political activities and or lobbying. There are other organizations, other not-for-profit organization, 501c4, that you can have, where you can have the agenda that this is my agenda. I'm trying to promote this party. It's a not-for-profit company. It's not a charitable organization. This is what my goal is, and I'll be using the funding for this purpose only. So it's a different chapter, different rule in the IRC code that you can use for that type of purpose.
Okay. All right. And I guess the same thing applies for nonprofit also, just like it applies for the personal tax filers as well as corporate tax filers, is to keep track of all the receipts and the records and the bank statements and everything before filing the tax return.
Oh, absolutely. If anything, I would add that is more important than for your personal taxes. When you're filing your personal taxes, it's all about you. You did not maintain it. The worst we can do is to charge you some interest and penalties. But when you are part of the non-for-profit company, if you are in a leadership role, a trustee, then if somebody is not maintaining the proper receipt, we don't go behind them. We come behind you as a trustee, because you are the leader, you are the trustee of this organization. So especially when you are associated with a non-for-profit organization in a leadership role, make sure the books are maintained properly, all the receipts are maintained properly, all the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed. Make sure you do it right.
Okay, very well. Now, there is a Form 990 for a nonprofit organization that we know about. Let's say a nonprofit entity fails to file tax return for 3 years, whatever that reason may be, that fails to file 990, and IRS revokes the status. My question to you is that, can that company get the status back the same it was with the name and everything? Can it happen, or it cannot happen?
It can. So in theory, what can happen, and I'll tell you what's more practical than theory. In theory, what can happen, you can submit the non-for-profit application and then request the backdated election, explaining your situation. And the problem in this equation is you cannot get the non-for-profit approved until you have the tax clearance. You cannot get the tax clearance until you file the back taxes. You cannot file the back taxes as non-for-profit company because technically you are not a non-for-profit company for those years. So it becomes a loop, a vicious circle. So the process is you prepare the missed tax return, 990 in this example. Then you put them with an application for the non-for-profit election and you submit it. Hope somebody will see it in 6 to 9 months. What may be more practical in this type of situation, you close that organization, open another one that you can do, and in 3 to 6 months, that will be more practical, faster, and actually cheaper to just close that organization that you missed the filing and do the necessary filing, get the tax clearance, just close it, and start a new non-for-profit organization with a similar purpose, with the same purpose, with a similar name. Let's say, for example, if you have Garden State Religious Organization, next time you can say New Jersey Religious Organization, or New Jersey religious organization could be, Garden State could be GS religious organization. Meaning find a similar name to get the non-for-profit election started. That will be faster, cheaper, and more practical.
Okay. All right. So now another question that I have is obviously for a non-profit organization, their income is something that they really, really need to keep track of it. What's considered unrelated business income for the non-profit organization?
So any activity that's not defined as part of your charter, or any activity that's done to make profit, the IRS is looking at it. Are you trying to hide profit? Let's say, for example, a temple having a small kitchen in the basement where they are selling food is okay, because that's what's in the charter. We'll be doing food services, we'll be doing religious services, we'll be doing social services. But if you start doing the catering outside, you better have it defined in your charter. Meaning a small OBA, outside business activity, is okay for any non-for-profit company, but if it grows too much, you are better served by having that activity officially included in your charter as a non-for-profit company.
Okay, very well. If IRS looks at Form 990 for certain nonprofit entity and figures out that that they have misused funds in a one or the other way that they should not have used, is there any penalty, or if there is it a very steep penalty?
The penalties are steep because you remember, you are playing with someone else's money. Someone gave you the money. It's not your money to begin with. You did not earn this money. So penalties are onerous. So take an example. Not filing the tax return could cost you anywhere from $5,000 to $6,000 per year. So if you have 3 years missed situation, now you are looking at a substantial amount of penalty. Then sometimes it's better to keep it as a corporation, close it, get the tax clearance, and start a new one, as opposed to trying to resolve it where you have a potential penalty of almost $20,000.
Okay, all right. Last question for the day, and that is the most important question. Can employees or board members of non-profit entity receive salaries?
Oh, absolutely, 100%. I mean, if you look at Red Cross societies and non-for-profit companies, Salvation Army, they have huge payroll. So having the payroll in a non-for-profit company is very, very common. You do have to register for it. You do have to let the system know when you request the 501c3 as when you are going to have the payroll. If you are going to have the payroll, you can always change it later on, but it's a one-time registration process. But it's very, very common for the larger non-for-profit companies to have the payroll and or hired gun, meaning subcontractor. You are not hiring employees, but you have somebody who is doing the mission work, paying them as a subcontractor on 1099 is not uncommon.
Okay. You know, many temples, they do their renovation and fixing and everything, obviously. So they need to pay that to, just like you say, contractors or anybody, maintenance worker. Okay. Anything else you would like to add, as we have 1 minute left in the show?
Absolutely. So having a non-for-profit company, as much as everybody wants to be part of the non-for-profit company, comes with certain obligations. You don't want to be signing up as a trustee lightly. You have certain responsibility. If you are the trustee of a non-for-profit company, it's your responsibility to ensure that everything is done by the book. The receipts are maintained, financials are maintained, taxes are filed. The system doesn't know who to come behind. It doesn't matter who started the non-for-profit company. They will try to come behind the current trustees. So just be careful if you're part of a non-for-profit company. It's important because it's not your money. You are using someone else's money, and those people have already taken the tax advantage for it. So all the more reasons for you to be careful about.
Okay. Very well, AJ. Thank you so very much for your input on this in today's topic, nonprofit and organization and entities and filing and the details to follow when it comes to tax return to file. So we appreciate that. Once again, the show is brought to you by Science CPA Services. Reach out to them for any tax-related matter, or even if you want to open a company, you think about starting a business and what kind of entity that you should be really opening up, which depends upon your personal income and the personal income status. So for that and any other tax-related matter or anything, reach out to Science CPA Services, 908-888-8900 or sciencecpaservices.com. With that note, we come to the end of today's episode, the Tax Talk with AJ. Once again, we'd like to thank AJ and Science CPA Services for their support. I am Sanjeev Pandya. Until we meet again, same place, same time, do take care of yourself and have a happy and tax-free smiling days ahead.
Thank you.